What's going on, Raider Nation? Hey, by the way, check me out on Twitter. I brought up this point. Sometimes I give some information that I think is very important, which is the fact that, Clelin Ferrell, Josh Jacobs, Johnathan Abram, former first-round picks in the 2019 season, have their fifth-year option that must be decided on by May 2nd. Right now, our club, the Raiders, can extend and exercise the fifth-year option on one of these players. The window is open now, but they have until May 2nd to do so. So expect them to make a decision, especially after April. And we're going to go through all these player stats and talk about if the Raiders should extend their fifth-year option and why they should or why they should not, and if it's likely, and what the future holds for our 3 first-round picks. Remember that we got these 3 picks after we traded away Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. This was supposed to be the core that resets our organization, the base that we build around it. Unfortunately, because John Gruden and Mayock are no longer with this team, it seems like that's kind of irrelevant at this point. But still, some very talented players. And by the way, follow me on Twitter at @RealWiFiWillie, not for tweets like this, but for the tweets I take down. There's a lot of tweets that I'm embarrassed by that I take down. You want to follow me to check out those tweets, screenshot them while they're still around. Check those out. But let's just first talk about Johnathan Abram, because I feel like Johnathan Abram is such a polarizing figure with the Raiders. You got people who really like him, people who don't, people who think he hasn't been utilized correctly. A lot of times we thought, Johnathan Abram's going to thrive if he's in the box. When he's trying to play this too high safety thing, kind of what he did with Paul Gunther at times, running the cover 2 at certain times. Not really where Johnathan Abram excels, but man, he's a hard hitter. He's great against the run. Seeing the way that he's able to pinpoint where the receiver will be in a jet sweep and take out that player, it's very impressive, man. And you can watch the film and see it. But against coverage, when he's having to cover people like Kelsey or cover a wide receiver, you've seen him struggle, man, and that's why he's had the lowest coverage grades. Like in 2 seasons, I believe he's had the lowest coverage grades among all strong safeties, and that's according to PFF. But when you watch it on the field, it really does stand out. Still a young guy at 25 years old, but keep in mind, when you exercise their fifth-year option, you're going to pay them a lot of money. I don't have the exact number for Johnathan Abram, but for Josh Jacobs, it's about $8 million to exercise his fifth-year option. Therefore, Johnathan Abram would be, roughly the same. And you haven't seen it happen really at a high level for Johnathan Abram. He's made some plays, some picks here and there. I remember when he picked off Cam Newton in 2020. I was very impressed and very stoked. But these plays are far and few between. And then you got Duran Harmon coming in here, who has some familiarity with McDaniels, Ziegler, and Patrick Graham from their time in New England. And this guy's going to seriously compete with Johnathan Abram. And maybe Patrick Graham could still utilize Johnathan Abram. I mean, we've seen him use safeties like Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan in the slot in the linebacker position. I think Johnathan Abram would thrive in the linebacker position, but in order to do that, he'd have to gain about 15 more pounds. I mean, he's still a safety at 205 pounds, not quite a linebacker. I mean, if he was closer to 230 pounds, then we could start talking, even 225 pounds. But $3.6 million cap hit this year with $2.9 million in dead money. So essentially, the Raiders, if they did move on from Johnathan Abram at this point, you would save about $700,000. There's also another way you can save a lot of money. Not if you release Johnathan Abram, but if you trade him, you would only eat $1.5 million in dead money, and you would actually save $2 million. So instead of saving $700,000, the Raiders could trade Johnathan Abram after June 1st. This is after the draft, obviously, and save a little bit more money, close to $2 million, right? Instead of $700,000, that's a lot better. But it depends if they could find a trade partner, really. Definitely somebody who could be traded. Who knows, especially if you're not going to exercise his fifth-year option anyways, especially if you're signing, people like Duran Harmon to compete with him. Meanwhile, you already have, people in the room like Dallin Levitt at safety. You have Tyree Gillespie there at safety. So who knows what the future holds for Johnathan Abram? And let me know in the comments, like, do you guys think we should exercise a fifth year on Johnathan Abram? I personally don't think you should pay him that much money. If you can work out a multi-year deal where the cap's not that crazy, where you're not going to pay him about $8 million a year, maybe something like 5, maybe something like 4, who knows? I mean, it depends how much faith Patrick Graham has in his ability to utilize Johnathan Abram. And you've seen on the offensive side of the ball, Coach Priscillo and Josh McDaniels clearly decided that despite the fact that Brandon Parker hasn't played that well, they believe they can get more out of him. And maybe Patrick Graham feels that way about Johnathan Abram. I'm not sure. Only time will tell. But definitely going to have to make a decision on that by May 2nd. You got to make a decision on Clelin Ferrell. And I know Ferrell hasn't been what we wanted, but he still has a great size, great arm length, and he's still a talented player. Like Clelin Ferrell, maybe, he was not worth the 4th overall pick. Maybe he wasn't even worth the 15th overall pick in that 2019 draft. Maybe he should have been drafted a lot later. Either way, this guy is still not a detriment to your team, right? This guy can still make you better. And you've seen it happen over the years. The rookie year, he played almost as much as a starter, 648 snaps. Typical starters are 900 to 1,000 snaps. Then that's just declined. 2020 didn't get utilized that much. That was also because he was sick with something that I can't say on this channel, or else this video will get flagged. But he was sick with something. That's why he had less snaps under Paul Gunther in 2020. In 2021, just completely out of the picture in Gus Bradley's scheme, with Max Crosby taking over and Unique Ngakoue as well. But still had some pressures, 19 pressures last year, 30 pressures in 2020, 26 in 2019. And that's really bad, to be honest. The fact that he has 26 pressures in 2019, despite the fact that he played so many snaps. That's just not good. Yeah, he picks up some sacks here and there, but the production still isn't there. However, I think the size is there. Coming out of a big school like Clemson, the talent, the experience is still there. Maybe you could work something out with this guy, because if you trade him right now, you're not going to save any money. You better hope you get some good assets for him, because it's going to offset with his cap hit at $9.9 million and $9.9 million dead cap as well. Now, there is some hope after June 1st, according to overthecap.com. If you do trade Clelin Ferrell, not released, if you trade Clelin Ferrell after June 1st, you eat $5 million in dead money. Therefore, you save $4.7 million. So that might be an option as well for Clelin Ferrell. But honestly, if we're going to have some of our edge defenders play that outside linebacker position like Chandler Jones, and maybe Max Crosby is going to transition to that role as well based on the weight, who knows if there's room for Clelin Ferrell. Maybe he could bulk up and gain some more weight and play on that defensive end position while you have somebody like Chandler Jones at the outside linebacker position. We'll see what happens, but definitely going to have to make a decision on this guy for sure. And we're going to have to really think about what we're going to do with this guy, who I think this is the one guy that, me personally, I say you exercise his fifth-year option. And I did not feel like this until I started watching some tape, looking at some numbers and everything, and just thinking about Josh Jacobs' career. And one thing about him is I feel like Josh Jacobs has been given too many attempts. And this is my criticism of John Gruden. You guys know I'm a Gruden grinder. I like John Gruden, but I will say I don't like the fact that in 2019 and 2020 especially, he just gave Jacobs too many attempts. And I felt like it kind of ran him into the ground. And maybe that's because we didn't have that much faith in Devontae Booker in 2020. In 2019, we really didn't have faith in anybody else to spell Josh Jacobs. I think we had DeAndre Washington, Jalen Richard, and that was it. And so, it was rough, right? It was rough, and you want to see what this rookie's made of. But I think when Josh Jacobs is healthy, he is a top 5 running back in the league. And I could sound crazy, but just looking at the numbers, watching some film the other day, I still think he's very talented. Now the contract, 3.7 cap hit, 3.7 dead, so it offsets if you release him. However, if you trade him after June 1st, you save $2 million and you eat $1.6 million. So you still could save money if you trade this guy after June 1st, 5'10", 219 pounds, still 24 years old. But MTF, what is the MTF? Missed tackles forced. What is this missed tackles forced about? It's a great stat. It's a stat that shows, hey, how many times is this guy breaking a tackle? It is Josh Jacobs who is causing the defender to miss a tackle. He had 60 in 2021, 51 in 2020, and 2019 he had 69. Now let me tell you the magnitude of how amazing this is. In 2019, there was only one player who had more missed tackles forced than Jacobs, and that's Derrick Henry. Only one other player. In 2020, he was top 5 in missed tackles forced. In 2021, there was only 2 players ahead of him in missed tackles forced, and then Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos is one of them. So this guy has always been top 5 in this category, sometimes second best, third best, and that's a great stat. I mean, it doesn't matter how fast you are when people can't tackle you. So I know some people criticize Jacob's speed and whatnot. I still think he's a shifty running back, and I think he has improved in the pass-catching game, and we know that was supposed to be one of his assets. Coming out of Alabama, it was supposed to be a great asset that Josh Jacobs can catch. He can catch and has ran a lot of routes in college. So that was supposed to be an asset, and I think maybe Josh McDaniels could be the guy to get that out of him, right? We still have Kenyon Drake under contract. We renegotiated and restructured Kenyon Drake's deal where he will definitely be on the team this year and perhaps even next year. Brandon Bolden, a running back who's supposed to be our third down back, has a 2-year, $5 million deal. That's not a heavy investment, and we can get out of that contract next year. So Jacobs' 5th-year option would be $8 million, right? And if you can't come to a longer-term agreement with this guy, I still think you exercise your 5th-year option because you're not going to find production like this in the draft very easily, I think, right? And if it's just one more year to really, if you really just think, okay, I need an extra year to evaluate this guy, I think he's definitely worth that price. Look at the TDs, look at the yardage, and now that we have people like Brandon Bolden, people like Kenyon Drake, if he stays healthy, you can save Jacobs' body, and he could last a full season, be that really effective running back who's causing missed tackles in the playoffs. And to be honest, Jacobs did an amazing job in the last 4 games of the regular season. I really do think we do not win those games without Josh Jacobs because, hey, guess what? Our passing game struggled. Our offensive line couldn't pass protect, and Derek Carr didn't have the greatest receiving quarter to throw to, especially with Darren Waller no longer available. So let me know what you guys think. Like, I think out of all 3 of these guys, I definitely am going to say, you know what? Why not exercise the 5th-year option of Josh Jacobs? And these other 2 guys, I say you let them walk and test the market unless they do a team-friendly deal, which I highly doubt. These guys are young guys who are on their rookie deal. Outside of Clelin Ferrell, I don't think Jacobs or Abram would do a type of team-friendly deal. They still need to make their money and try to get as much market value as possible. However, Clelin Ferrell, I don't necessarily think he's going to get paid as much as he was paid during his rookie contract, $9 million a year. I don't think he's going to get that on the market. So he would be somebody maybe inclined to do a team-friendly deal. And maybe he elects for that. But time will tell. I think after the OTAs that we're going to have in spring, McDaniel said we're going to have it, I believe, the 13th and also the 25th of April. You know, McDaniels and Ziegler are finally going to meet these guys and be able to really talk football. And they're going to be able to decide, you know, what are we going to do? And then you have the draft. Depending on who we pick up in the draft, maybe post-June, you make some decisions on Josh Jacobs. You make decisions on Abram and Ferrell. Maybe you trade them away because that's the only way you could save money with these guys. You can't cut them because you're going to lose some money. You're going to lose a lot of cash. So it's quite possible. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. What are we going to do with these guys? May 2nd. Don't forget that date. Pencil it in, and I'll be here giving you updates on that nonstop. Like this video, man, if you watched it all the way through, and subscribe to this channel to get more updates on what we got going on. And when you want to see a new video or a new live and you want to make sure you see it, make sure you ring the bell on my channel. There's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. If you ring that bell, you're going to get all notifications for what I post. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't send you it automatically. So go ahead and do that. Peace out, everybody. This is WiFiWillie at the Raiders Rundown, and I hope you have a good one. Later.